If you go through the statistics, I'm sorry, but I'm an arc science person, so I'll give you a few numbers today. We spend 90,000 hours of your actually life at work. That can be right, Kenan, but it's actually true. And where do we work from? We actually work from our offices, most of us. Most of us spend 9% of our days in some sort of indoor environment, yeah? Now, if I would be talking about this with someone coming from a health science perspective, they would be talking about population health and other related aspects. But that's exactly what it's about. That's the reason why we should be actually talking about the design of these indoor spaces, because the time that we spend in them make them quite significant. If we take a jump from the statistics and what is in the science about this, and we look at what corporate real estate and what companies are facing, well, they are really fighting for talent, yeah. In some economies where you actually have a lot of jobs that are still available, you have to find not only to attract people, that's the part that is important, we also need to keep them there. And then I come across this report. There was another report back in 2015, I think. This one is from 2018, saying that 40% of our millennials that are actually working expect to leave their jobs within 2 years. So if you're fighting for talent and you're actually doing well in bringing them into your business, how do you actually go about to keeping them there if they have no intention to do so? That is the first challenge. The second challenge is, what is it that these people want? Yeah? They want more flexibility. They want, and they fight for, life and work balance. How will you go by this? So if you go through the same report from Deloitte, you'll see that the ones that expect to stay more than 5 years, that is directly correlated with the level of flexibility that the business offers them. Although I miss the millennial generation for only 2 years, I can totally relate to that, yeah? If you have more flexibility within your workplace, you can actually see yourself stay in that place for longer. What is the third challenge that we're now really trying to tackle with? Well, health. Health, stress-related, mental health, any sort of related aspects that affect people, and yes, indoor environments play a role at that. Is taking a big toll in our population. So if you go through the statistics, and if that doesn't guarantee me a discovery grant, I don't know what else is going to guarantee that. Costs at people at work, yeah? Two aspects, people that are sick and are not working. 5.12 billion is the total cost to economy in Australia alone. But then when you go to those that are actually at work, but they're not working at the highest level, they're not being 100% productive to their own level of ability, then the costs are actually higher, 5.69 billion in Australia alone. So everything that you can do to possibly tackle this, would you actually reduce these? These are the lost investment per day, per work, $2. It's quite a lot when you think that the millions of workers that are actually in the offices right now. What is it that we've seen in terms of the infrastructure that we offer people, yeah, where they go to their office? Well, over the last 30 or so years, we've seen what? Massive exodus from the private office, where we're still academics, hold on to their offices as much as you can, but it's not going to last for a very long time, sorry to say. So they embrace, people not necessarily embrace, they still fight open plan office, but that's the norm, yeah? So we started working in these open plan configurations. So we went from this, where we all have our own, territory within a workspace, to that, which is what people interpret as open plan office, to that, which is also very much open plan office with a lot more freedom. But then over the last 2 years or so, you start dealing with co-working, which is very much down to the core of interpretation of what offices should be about. They're actually providing people with a service. It's just a place to go for a meeting. You don't necessarily have to have all this infrastructure there all the time. Because if you ever visited an open plan office, any office in Australia, you see that at least 40% of the desks are actually empty. So what is the point? From the sustainability point of view, it's actually not even smart to keep building these offices and retrofitting the fit-outs every 2 or 5 years or so. So we come down to a notion that it's been around forever, it's not new. Work is just something you do, but it's not a place that you necessarily go to. You can work from anywhere you want to, if there is enough structure for that. So I'll be presenting a few results from a multidisciplinary collaborative research platform that started about 2 years ago. I have collaborators because this is very much a multidisciplinary issue, how we go by providing better spaces for people to work from, or actually any indoor environment for that matter. So we have architects, IT, health science, people from CPC working on this as well, through a strong industry engagement, because, well, we are academics, but if we want to change the way these buildings, these spaces are actually designed, we have to bother and go in there and visit and see what people are exposed to, yeah, before we can analyze. We have a few research streams, few case studies looking to pre and post relocation, so people moving from a different type of open plan office into a new way of working or a new configuration. Incidental physical activity levels, can we actually make people less sedentary in the workplaces or any indoor environment for that matter? I think we can. Can we actually make them a little bit more productive? So we're trying to monitor and develop new technology for cognitive performance assessment in situ, not in a lab environment. So every workspace that we investigate becomes an extension of a lab. That's how I like to think about this. This is one of the case studies. What is it important about these spaces that we investigated or we have been investigated with SHE? They all have to have a structured change management plan. So you actually have to guide people through. When you're designing a space for a new way of working, you have to educate people about that. You cannot expect someone who always worked in a private office to just be very happy to work in an open plan office. That is never going to happen. The design of these spaces, they do have a human-centered approach. People really, all the designers are on site talking about the new design of what people actually want from this new space. What is it about the culture of the company, how they see themselves in the future? If they're attracting new people and trying to keep them there, what is it that is different about that space? They have a multitude of spaces. Remember, open plan offices, there is no such a thing as one size fits all. But if you start actually trying to design a variety of spaces, you can give people back some degree of freedom that was lost by the time they started occupying open plan offices. Key features, active design guidelines, so you have to make people move more, be more physically active when they are at work, and a few other aspects. So what happens when you actually design and you keep that in mind, on when people kept all of that in mind? This is what we've seen. We have these results, post-occupancy evaluation results, which means we just ask people what they think about the space. From about 100 workspaces in Australia, and I have the top 10 that were collected through our SHE project. And this is the difference. So 1 is the less satisfied, 7 is the highest score. When you go through everything from noise distraction in privacy, which is #1 issue in an open plan office, to perceived health and productivity, the results were significantly higher when people actually design based on those guidelines. Not guidelines, but this is what they try to do. When we go through some of the results and we see before, that's the little blue bar, and after, so they're coming from an open plan office that is about 5 years old. It's not an old space, it's actually a quite good space, but they moved into a new configuration. These are the results for space for collaboration, interaction, breaks, comfort, personalization of the work area in workspace aesthetics. So I would say these 10 workspaces have something about it, because they still very much open plan offices. And people told me that they hate that. So if we're going to try to take a sneak peek on what is it in the future of design of these spaces, what is it that we have to do? I think we have to start setting new benchmarkings. It's not enough to just kick back and complain about open plan offices. We have to do more about that, because they're really not going away anytime soon. They've been around for 30 or more years, depending on where you are. So if that's the case, what is it that we can do? What are the opportunities? I see this as an opportunity. First of all, we have to stop driving for that. Yeah, these are the lowest score results in the database. This is not enough either. This is the average score in the database from about 100 workspaces, 10,000 occupant survey responses. You have to strive for that, yeah? And when you start designing for any certification, this one is the US-based, this is a health-related certification for the built environment. You definitely start seeing results that are much higher than the average. But there is something else about all these spaces. This is the very highest scores within the database. We have to go back. If you're a designer, you can't just design and never go back to that. You need to go and learn and understand what went right, what went wrong, and then you have to learn how to customize what you're doing next time. Yeah? If you are a building owner, or if you are a tenant, if you're actually driving the decision of an organization, you have to collect evidence like this, so you can actually provide a better indoor environment for people. Thank you.